It's actually really hard to contemplate the change that we've all seen from AI in the last 6 months. And we're going to get into that and talk quite a bit about that. So, elephant in the room in any conversation about AI is this number. This is the number of jobs that McKinsey say in the white-collar space will be impacted, i.e. removed by AI in the next 2 years. What McKinsey and other economists are actually talking about isn't jobs, it's tasks. 30% of the tasks we all do will be replaced by AI. They will go away. Those same reports also say that between 80% and 200% of those tasks will be replaced by newer, more meaningful tasks and functions. Think more about your roles today. We have very small teams in this space, average of 4 people for companies of 50,000 employees. We actually had a conversation with a client last week who, they actually have 50,000 employees and she's it. She's the one person in their impact team. It's a bit mind-blowing. Almost 60% of people are saying that they're spending a whole bunch of time talking to their lawyers and corporate affairs, corporate communications. You're dealing with a world where there's just a ton of pressure on you to not do anything dumb, is really what it comes down to. And then about half of grant makers report that they're not doing the job the way they would want to do. They're not following best practices. And that's due to the lack of time, lack of availability, lack of ability to do the things they want to do. I'm pretty confident that no one in this room got into purpose and impact because you wanted to be moving pieces of paper around. You wanted to drive your corporate strategy and engage in purpose. You wanted to marshal resources, your corporate resources, around having impact and driving purpose. And that's not really where you've been today. We at Benevity believe that AI is going to be part of the solution to that conflict. AI is going to power purpose over paperwork. It will allow you to unload some of the mundane tasks. Some of the toil that you engage in today will be unloaded and taken over by AI, freeing you up to be more strategic, more visionary. So your job's not going away, back to 30%. Your job will still be here nice and comfortably. It'll be about impact. You'll be driving more impact and being less engaged in mundane work. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the speakers before me bemoaned the fact that she and her colleagues really wanted to engage in a lot more volunteering activity, but they couldn't because they didn't have the time. She asked for a time machine, and I kind of realized that, you know what, AI sort of is that time machine. I mean, not in the Dr. Brown DeLorean sense. It's not moving you back into the 50s to invent the skateboard, but it's creating time for you. It's making time for you to do more things. I'm about 10% more productive now than I was 3 months ago. Sorry, not 10%, 10x more productive. I do about a week's worth of work in a half day. It's not that I'm getting 10 times the amount of the things I was doing previously done. I'm doing a whole bunch more things that I couldn't have done previously. Now, I'm definitely no faster at the things I used to do, but there are things that I'm able to do, and we're going to get into that in a second. If I can get my employer, which in the case of Benevity should be relatively easy, to accept a mere 5x productivity gain, then that frees up my afternoon. The really important message here is that it's not just about removing and reducing toil. However, the real value comes when we get into doing the things that humans simply cannot do. So it's not about AI to replace you, it's about AI to augment you. I think a simple example that resonates for me as a doctor. For at least 10 years, traditional machine learning models, forget large language models, traditional machine learning has been far, far better at diagnosing cancer from MRI images than any radiologist has ever been. Does that mean I want to replace my doctor with a machine learning model? No, absolutely not. But I want my doctor to be using the very best diagnostic tools available. Our goal is to advance impact and help our clients drive purpose with efficiency and scale, and AI enables that for us. Of course, everything we do has to be accompanied with enterprise-grade security and governance. We have to make sure that we're not leaking your data. We move about $3.5 billion a year through our payment rails. It would be a big problem if we started losing that. So our platform is built on very strong enterprise-grade lines. Let's talk a little bit about what ethical means when we talk about AI. Ethical AI is minimizing bias and ensuring sustainability. The sustainability in AI is really driven by two factors. One is the cost of training the models, and then the second is the inference cost, the cost of running the models at the end of the line. And that's all driven by processing power. So when you work with a model provider, and as Benevity or really any other company except for the large foundation models providers, we're not training models ourselves. We're using other people's models. We're willing to pay a provider like Anthropic a little bit more for the same capability that we would get from another provider because they have a commitment to sustainability. So we're able to bring that to bear. Bias is a harder problem in AI because fundamentally, large language models are trained on human data. Humanity has been fundamentally biased for a very, very long time. So eliminating bias and testing for bias is really, eliminating bias is really about testing for bias. As you run models, you have to have checks. There are technologies you can use to ensure that what you're doing is not perpetuating existing biases, and we have a commitment to that. Benevity, it's in our DNA to be deeply committed to these things and to ensure fundamentally that, sounds ironic, but that we keep the humanity in artificial intelligence. AI cannot replace humanity, it must augment it, and that's critical for us. We think about our use of AI in three different themes: efficiency, engagement, and impact. Efficiency is about making your small but mighty teams mightier. So let's say I can free up 20% of my time, maybe 30% of my time by being more effective with existing tasks. That remaining 30%, I can now do this unbelievable panoply of things that I could not have accomplished before. I'll give you an example of a workflow. I can think of an idea that I'd like to see in the product. I can vibe code it, is the term. There's prototyping tools like Replit, which I love. I can put a prompt into Replit, say, hey, build me this, work with it as it builds it, make suggestions. It's essentially a human-guided process, as if I had a team of 20 really efficient developers working for me. It spits out a prototype in 15, 20 minutes. I can take that prototype, run a 1-minute demo screen recording, hand that screen recording to Gemini and say, build me a presentation to market this prototype to my internal teams and something that I can go take to clients and show them the sort of stuff we're doing. 30 minutes later, I've got a website that is really, really slick, showcasing my idea. The key there is it's my idea. Everything else is the augmentation side of that. So I have this really tiny engagement. I'm now delivering things that would have taken an enormous team to be able to do. That's where the 10x comes in, not from enormous improvement in my existing day job, but in the additional things that we layer in. The next step then for us is engagement. How do we take people's participation from 2% to 57%? That's about being able to leverage the 17 plus years of data that we have at Benevity on corporate impact and be able to determine how we can best drive impact in more specific areas. This is getting into things that humans just can't do. You can't process that much data. You can get a pretty good sense of it, and what we find increasingly is that the AI is really supporting the human thesis or hypothesis. So you sort of have a sense, you understand, okay, I've been in this space for a while, I'm pretty sure that if we did this, it would have that impact. We can get super specific with AI. We can start carving your employee sets up into very narrow affinity groups of people that are going to act in certain ways and respond to certain stimuli. And that helps drive engagement. And then finally, impact. Telling the stories about what you're doing. Really simple to use AI to go reach into a nonprofit social media feeds and website, identify what a donation or a set of volunteering activities is going to do, and then use AI to craft the story. Now, AI can craft tight stories with very specific purposes that you can then use to share on social media to drive more impact, creating a virtuous circle. So I've got engagement, driving impact, driving engagement. We're going to see enormous gains in the way that AI is helping us. And all of this, of course, has to apply across the three groups of constituents that we serve. The people building impact programs, the people participating in impact programs, and the nonprofits that ultimately take what those organizations do and apply that in the real world. One of the terms you may hear is system of action. Historically, enterprise SaaS platforms have been thought of as a system of record. That is basically a database. You do something and it gets added as a record to the database so that we can track it and report on it. Turning that into a system of action means taking something like an AI agent and allowing that agent to leverage that data to go do more meaningful things. So I gave kind of an example on the previous slide, but the whole point of a system of action is that it's now acting on your behalf. It's not just taking what you're doing and recording it. It's no longer a transaction log. I mean, and agentic examples. People always ask me, what is an AI agent? Well, a simple example is like Google Deep Research. You ask it to go research a topic for you. You come back 10 minutes later and it's built you a really detailed report after reaching out to multiple different websites and sources, and it's done a bunch of thinking and it's constructed something. So let's think about 3 really specific examples. We'll take a grant admin who can, instead of being buried in immense amounts of review time looking at hundreds or even thousands of applications for grants, they can get them summarized and can move very quickly from reviewing things to building out strategies and determining how they want to drive things forward. You get an AI curated shortlist of the things you should be engaging in rather than having to bury yourself in reviews, many of which are going to turn out to be an incomplete application. Or a retail team lead who is being nudged in real time where they work today to be able to take a particular action. So, hey, we just created a new campaign. Why don't you take this campaign and run it across your teams through your channels and drive engagement that way? So instead of expecting people to log into an existing platform outside the regular flow of work, we engage with them during their flow of work. And AI agents will enable that. And then as a foundation president, you can get an AI-ranked set of priorities complete with customer sentiment data, employee engagement data, and have a really clear understanding of how you should be using your money rather than just having to go engage teams to do research on various different things. I am not an expert in the enterprise impact space, far from it. You guys are the experts in enterprise impact. I would love for people to find me later on in the day and just give me your ideas. Tell me, hey, have you thought about this? Because the answer is probably no, and I'd love to get your ideas, that you guys are where the value will come from in what we're planning to accomplish. External match requests. One of the features that we're going to be dropping on December 8th, 2 features will be coming out, both AI-centric. External match requests are for, I think, some of the organizations in the room will use them, others won't. It's when someone chooses to donate to a cause outside the Benevity platform and then realizes that, oh, well, had I donated through Benevity, I would have got a match from my employer, so I'm going to submit my donation receipt through Benevity, and if my employer approves it, then the match will be sent to the nonprofit. We found from a number of our clients that use external match requests that I think up to 25% of admin time is being taken reviewing these requests. It's incredibly mundane work. That adds up, taking about 5 minutes to review each application. By the way, the bulk of the challenge with the applications is in the quality of the receipts. The current process, you fill in a form stating who the cause was, how much you donated, who you are, some basic information. You upload the receipt, you submit it. When the admins review those, they realize that in many cases, the receipt someone uploaded was a bank statement. It's not a valid charitable receipt. It's of no purpose whatsoever. So what we did is we turned that around. We said, okay, well, why don't you just upload the receipt? We'll process it through AI and extract all the information, filling the form in for you. And by the way, informing you that, yeah, not a charitable donation receipt, so don't try to submit this. You still can, so we're not taking the control away from the user, but we are dramatically improving the quality of the submission. And that will be a fast follow with a number of other features that we lay on the back of that, where we do change the admin review process to provide the AI's opinion on the submissions and allow the reviewer to scan those submissions very quickly and make fast decisions as to whether or not to approve or not. And then you follow that up pretty quickly by applying your own corporate rules to that so that you can now auto-approve and decline receipts that fall outside a given score range, or even auto-approve everything. One of the benefits that comes in here beyond just the time is that a lot of our clients just choose to auto-approve all external match requests below a certain amount. And that amount varies from sort of $50 to $1,000. We're hoping to be able to reduce quite a bit of unintentional or intentional fraud from the system by allowing AI to review every single match request. So instead of just saying, well, it's $950, so I'm just reviewing it, I'm just passing it through without review, we can now review and say, yeah, no, not doing that. So I think there's a lot of benefit around the outside of that too. It takes about 30 minutes, between 10 and 60 minutes per grant application for a foundation admin to review those applications. A lot of the applications are not valid, or they don't align with the program, they're not complete, and they should probably just be sent back to the nonprofit to be for another go. But you can't just know that without reading them all. So this feature it's incredibly simple. It provides a button on the grant application screen that goes off and generates an AI summary. The summary basically gives you a précis of how effectively that application aligns with your corporate purpose and with the grant goals. And it doesn't score it today. That's the next round of feature that coming in. Initially, it just allows you to look at it, and instead of reading a whole 200-page document, you can simply scan the summary. Fast follow on that is scoring them. So we use AI to score the application against criteria. Now, people always get worried about scoring. They're like, well, isn't that going to introduce bias? I'm like, no, not compared to the bias that the human would introduce. So our clients all have scoring rubrics for grant applications. So you know the criteria against which you're scoring it. And it's much easier for an AI, for a machine to, in an unbiased manner, apply those criteria to the application and create a score. It doesn't mean you have to use the score as your sole criteria. We do think that over time, more and more clients will start moving to auto-approve, auto-decline based on application scoring. More likely auto-decline. You'll be able to say, this doesn't align with my needs, so I'm gonna move that one on. One of the things that is super important about AI in general, and particularly I think AI in our space, is the future of the application itself. I don't expect people to log into a corporate goodness portal every day and decide what they want to do in terms of goodness. I expect goodness to become embedded in the flow of work. And this is going to be true not just of goodness applications, but just about everything that we do. I think the number of apps that we use at work, the number of applications we log into are going to decline significantly as these capabilities become embedded in the corporate AI platforms. So we think in terms of most of our clients have Microsoft Teams or Slack, some application like that you use as a daily communication tool. We should be embedding goodness into Teams and Slack. With the advent of AI, the nature of that integration changes. We can still directly integrate with Teams, and we likely will. For Slack, rather than integrating into Slack, we're much more likely to integrate with Salesforce's Agentforce AI, because Agentforce has really sweet integration into Slack. So we'll likely see that in Microsoft as Microsoft opens up Copilot to adopt technologies like MCP. We'll integrate with Copilot instead of integrating directly with Teams. So those things will come. The whole point is to be able to embed impact where people work. We want to be able to understand our employees better and understand how our employees want to engage with corporate purpose and with impact. It's likely not from visiting a separate portal. It's likely through allowing us to understand their needs and wants based on how they're engaging in the tools that they use on a daily basis. And that, I think, has enormous power for us. The idea is that we're able to shift CSR or corporate impact from a passive destination to an active, personalized guide to having impact at work. Let's talk about nonprofits. Most of what we've talked about for me here has been about the enterprise and about the enterprise clients. Ultimately, everything we're doing here is to service nonprofits. If we think that our clients have small but mighty teams, and they do, it blows my mind what our clients are able to accomplish. Nonprofits are typically stretched even thinner. They do not have the capacity to absorb a bunch of this technology. So we think that AI can help nonprofits immensely. Even relatively simple things like curating a nonprofit's profile in the Benevity nonprofit portal in our database, so that we have much clearer information about the nonprofit, and we're using AI to keep it updated. With a human in the loop, obviously, we're not going to just randomly publish an entirely new profile for a nonprofit. That seems like a bad idea. But what we are going to do is allow nonprofits to engage with us more effectively by curating their own data that we can then use to drive a lot more things. We can use that for impact storytelling. We can use it to help them auto-complete grant proposals. We can use them to find corporate partners, or rather allow corporate partners to find them more effectively. We get into some really slick use cases. So imagine an agent that's monitoring the AP newsfeed, and it's looking for things that appear to be an impending humanitarian crisis. And it identifies something and says, oh, wow, okay. It can then use our newly curated nonprofit database and identify a set of nonprofits that can collaborate to solve the issues that are going to come up in this humanitarian crisis. It can match those nonprofits with appropriate corporate partners that share a common purpose. For each of those corporate partners, it can then dive into their existing giving data and create the affinity groups of the people in the organization who are likely to engage in different ways. It can create personalized campaigns for each of those affinity groups, for each of those ideas, all in the service of this larger goal. And then it hands it all to an admin and says, tweak, tune, adjust as needed, but here's the foundation, here's the basis. Are you ready? Go. Smarter matching, ensuring that we're tying nonprofits together with corporations that are going to want to use them. Tying individuals to a nonprofit that they're likely to want to interact with. So with that, I want us all to do a couple of things. I know that everyone here is almost certainly using some AI already in your work. I'd encourage you to use it more assertively, experiment. Dedicate some time to understanding how it can really help you and learn more things about it. It's all about how we can use AI to free up a little bit of extra time to then really allow us to go to town with it. And that's where that step change will come. So getting back to my Back to the Future analogy, I want us all to stand by that DeLorean, open those beautiful gull-wing doors, climb in, give that flux capacitor a couple of taps, accelerate to 88 miles an hour, ideally not in a mall parking lot, hit 88 miles an hour, and start making time for yourselves to have more impact in the world. So, thank you all.